All right, let's cross again to the SABC's Aldrin Sampear, who is outside the Kathrada apartment in northern Johannesburg. Aldrin, you've been speaking to some of the people coming to visit. Take us through what you've seen tonight.
Well, quite a sad day indeed as we wrap up this live coverage of Kathrada's passing on. From around about 3:45 this morning, we found out that he has departed, and we've been hearing tributes coming in, pouring in, even on social media. Various stalwarts who've been also giving their tributes to Ahmed Kathrada and the role that he played. And something that really sticks out right now is what the former President Thabo Mbeki said. He said that he spoke to Uncle Kathy about his unhappiness about the state of the ANC and the state of governance within the party and the country. And he spoke about the 101 stalwarts. Remember that the 101 veterans, which was a formation set up to speak to the ANC and the ANC leadership about their grievances and how to rectify the party, and some concerns around the road or the route that the party is being steered into. And Ahmed Kathrada was one of those people, the 101 members. And you know, earlier on as well, what you were mentioning as well is the issue around his support for Pravin Gordhan. Remember that when Save SA was established, he was part of Save SA as well as with his wife Barbara Hogan. He wasn't shy to speak about issues that he felt need to be dealt with, and former President Thabo Mbeki saying that it would be the best tribute to Ahmed Kathrada if the ANC ensures that the consultative conference that the veterans have asked for does take place. The ANC, of course, has mentioned before that the consultative conference will happen, but there was a statement actually about 2 days ago that was released by the stalwarts for the sake of our country, in which they say that they're certainly not happy that the consultative conference will be attached to the ANC's policy conference 2 days just before the ANC policy conference. They had hoped that the consultative conference will happen as soon as possible, way before the policy conference, and we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. And of course, messages of support as well as condolences still pouring in on social media as well. And Francis, something quite interesting that I noticed on social media was a tweet where somebody said that my history teacher did not do justice to Ahmed Kathrada. And then there was another tweet where somebody was saying that I don't understand people who call into radio stations asking who Ahmed Kathrada is. And it speaks to the history that's being taught in schools. We know that the basic education department has been saying that there are concerns around what type of history is being taught in schools. And I guess the passing on of Uncle Kathy really highlights that issue around do we know who our stalwarts are? Do we know where this country come from? Do we know the role that those stalwarts have played? And Francis, just quickly, before I wrap up, it's of course the funeral that will be taking place tomorrow. Myself, that's Aldrin Sampear, as well as Griselda Lewis, Mzwandile Mbeche, will be giving you all the live coverage of the funeral as it takes place. It will start tomorrow at 10 o'clock at the West Park Cemetery. It is open to the public, so members of the public who want to make their way through to the funeral are welcome to do that. When I spoke to the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation director, he did indicate that in terms of a seating area, they've allocated a space of around 3,000 for around 3,000 people seated, but there will be enough space for the members of the public making their way through to the funeral, which will be a short service, about an hour and a half, and then after that, at about 11:30, there will be the short Muslim section of the funeral, the burial rites that will be taking place. And hopefully, they hope that Ahmed Kathrada will be buried later at his final resting place at around midday.
Aldrin, there's been a lot of speculation about the president's role in the send-off, especially given that Ahmed Kathrada had written an open letter to him last year asking him to step down. In fact, do we have any clarity on that?
Still no clarity from the president to whether President Jacob Zuma will be at the funeral. And when I spoke to the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation director, about this issue, around the speculation around whether the president was barred or not, he did indicate that, listen, they haven't received any information as yet from the presidency whether President Jacob Zuma will be at the funeral. But one can only imagine the aura that will be in that marquee once the president is there, because not only would you have President Jacob Zuma, but you'll also have the former president, Kgalema Motlanthe, who will be leading the funeral, who will be delivering the keynote address at the funeral, which the foundation will be in charge of. You'll also have the former president, Thabo Mbeki, who's indicated that we all will be there as expected. So it will be quite interesting to see whether President Jacob Zuma does go to the funeral. There have been reports also indicating that the president has been asked not to speak at the funeral. Of course, some making the link between the letter that the president, rather that Ahmed Kathrada has written to the president, and Julius Malema earlier on as well, outside this apartment of Ahmed Kathrada, speaking about that letter, saying that tomorrow will mark the anniversary of that letter that was sent to former president, to President Jacob Zuma, and he has still not resigned. And there are, of course, a lot of political inferences with regards to the death of Ahmed Kathrada and what it means for the ANC henceforth in terms of reflecting on the state of the party and where the party finds itself now.
Thank you very much. That was Aldrin Sampear live outside the Kathrada home in northern Johannesburg. And there's really been an outpouring today. So many tributes from so many people. We'll bring you some of those after the short break.